Alright, in this video we'll see how to create a simple book appointment plugin in WordPress. So let me just show you what it does. As a visitor, I am allowed to enter my details and click on book appointment. Once your book appointment is done, you'll see all your appointment list in this particular page. So you can see this is how the table looks like. You have the information of who has filled this form. Now we'll see how to use this plugin. So for now, we have created a page which has a shortcode, and this shortcode displays your form field. Once you click on this field, once you click on this button, these data will get stored into a table, custom table that we have made in this particular table, and these table data are getting fetched and displayed on this particular backend page which admin has access to. Now if you click on change status, you see the status is booked now. If I click on change status, you are allowed to make the status to be cancelled and click on update status. And now as admin, I have made that the appointment which the visitor has made has cancelled, and I have made the changes as an admin, and that's it. This is how the plugin flow is going to be. Let's see what are the topics that we are going to learn today. First of all, we are going to see how to create a custom table, and this is the custom table that we have created. Let me try inputting some value. Let me just make this UI monk is making an appointment. UI monk is his email ID and the phone number, and the doctor he want to book is Sarah Lee, and he is a neurology, and the timing is going to be 2 p.m. If I make a book appointment, you'll see a success message saying that your appointment has been booked. And if you refresh the page from the backend, as an admin, I'm able to see the guy named UI Monk has booked an appointment on 2 p.m. to the doctor Sarah Ali, where she is in the neurology. And as said, the data would be saved in the custom table, and these data will be fetched and displayed over here. Now as an admin, if I wish to change the status, I can do that. So this is how the flow is going to be. Now we have seen how to we are going to see how to create this custom table, and then we'll see how to use this shortcode. So we have just pasted the shortcode, and that shortcode shows as a form, and not just form, it saves your form into a custom table. That's what we are going to see. And now we'll see how to create a dashboard menu with the custom table. So this is the dashboard menu called appointments we have added, and this is a table that shows up. We have just made it very simple. We have not added the sortable column, and we have not added the filter, just we have did in the previous video. We'll be just focusing on the basic feature which list all your appointments in a particular page. And finally we'll see how to update table values. Now as said, this is the row. If you wish to change the status to be booked, or you can say let's change this to cancel to book. If you click on this button, you'll see a small form page which gives two options, either it's booked or cancel. If I make this booked again and click on update status, you'll see the message. And if I go back to the previous page, and you'll see the status has been booked now. Now we'll see how to add this particular column, even though these columns are coming from the table which we have made in the database, but this column is something that is not the table, but it still shows up with the new feature that will allow you to edit the status. Now for this action, what we have is we'll be modifying the WordPress class, which helps us to display these values from a particular table. And again, it provides a specific function called column name. So that's the main topic of this video. We'll see how to create this particular column with the feature. Now without wasting time, let's get into the code. So for now, I'm just deactivating this plugin so that it doesn't get it don't get conflict with the plugin that we are going to create right now. So for the very first thing, we just need to get into the folder where your plugin list are. Since I have installed the WordPress locally, I would be getting the plugin list on this particular folder, and I'm going to create a new folder called, let's name it as appointment. Once you make this folder, what we need to do is we need to create a new file, and it should be a PHP file. It's better that we have the PHP file name similar to the appointment, and the extension is PHP and all files. Now to make your plugin show on this particular page, we need to give some metadata. So the metadata that we'll be giving in the form of comment, PHP comment. Now we'll just name it as appointment, and the author, the version, the description that we are giving would be displayed, and these are the metadata that we are passing. And you can see the plugin name called appointment will show up with the past description, the version number, and the author. If you click on activate, once I click on activate, I want a custom table to be created. So to create a custom table, we'll be using a function called register activation hook. So this hook will run whenever you activate a plugin. So when on activation I want to create a table, we'll add the code for creating table as well. Since it's episode number 23, I have already made so much videos on custom tables. We'll go very fast without wasting time. And this is a register activation hook function, and once it's get activated, this block of code will run. And as said, the WP global WPDB is the way that we access our current database, and I'm saying I'm going to use a prefix as with the table name simple appointment 2, and this is the prefix is coming from WP underscore. This is the WordPress default way of giving your table name prefix with the name, so I'm mentioning name. And this is the character set. The default WordPress, the default database will have either UTF-8 or ASCII, ACSII. Now I'm giving a query that will have ID as a column name, the parent name, patient name, the email, phone, doctor, department, and time slot. So these are the column names on the left side, which is mentioned as an orange. These are the column names, and on the blue you'll see these are the data type that would be stored. The ID would be number, so that's why int. So this is going to be alphanumeric, so varchar. Again, phone is number, you can use int, but let's have varchar. Either in some cases there would be plus or minus, plus or something different values. And again, this is varchar, and again time is also varchar. And I'm specifically saying that this ID is going to be the primary key. And once you activate this plugin, you'll see a new table that gets added on the database. Let me activate it. Once I activate it, you'll see, and let me click on this. A1 is the current database that this WordPress is using. So you should see a WP hyphen. So this is the table that we have created right now. Now what we do is we would be using a shortcode to display the HTML. So let's create our own shortcode. To create a shortcode, WordPress gives you a function called add shortcode. So add shortcode, the shortcode name you can modify it. So let's just modify it as appointment form hyphen 2. You can give any name to your shortcode, so make sure you use the same name over here, or else it won't work. Now what we need to display the HTML. This HTML is going to be what? This HTML is going to be simple, a form. Let's use that. So this is a simple form. There are many ways to display your HTML inside PHP. One most famous form where WordPress frequently uses output buffer. Output buffer is a temporary variable which holds all your HTML. Once it's stored, to display the output buffer temporary variable, we'll be using the output buffer get clean. So when you return this HTML will show up. Now if I make a refresh, you'll see your version of form without CSS. So to add a inline CSS, we'll be using a function called WP add inline style. So we need to pass the CSS as an argument. Let's do that. Now this is very straightforward. When this hook is responsible for attaching your CSS and JavaScript, and this hook calls your function, and that function accepts your CSS as an argument. And that's enough. You just need to click on refresh, and you'll see your form gets CSS in the form of inline. If I make a Control U, and you should see your added CSS over here, and it's coming from the ID WP-block. So this is how the CSS gets attached to your plugin with the help of this function which we have used, WP underscore add underscore inline style. So after this, what should happen? When I click on submit, I want the data to be stored on the table. So for that, we have a form which has the name for each input field. So this name has a patient name, this is email, this is phone. So we can access these individual field. Also your submit button will also have a name. So we will be checking whether someone clicked on the submit button. If someone clicked on the submit button, we need to store these input field values into a variable, PHP variable, and that PHP variable should get stored into that PHP variable's name, or the value should get stored onto this table. So let's do that. Whether we need to check whether the submit button is clicked or not. To know the submit button is clicked or not, PHP gives you a super global variable which is post, and if it is post and if it is clicked, then store those values into a variable. And after storing those values into a variable, what I need is I want to run an insert query. So to run an insert query, we need to use the global db and the prefix over here. Now we can simply use the insert query. Previously we have used create query, now we'll use the insert query to insert the form field values. And now, so as said, the global WP, we have access to the global WP object. We are setting the table name, and this table name gets stored into a table variable, and that table variable will be passing it inside the insert query. So this is the table name, and these are the relevant. On the left side you will see the column names, on the right side you will see the form field values, and that's enough. Now if you click on the page where you are and try to insert some value, so let's say vishal@gmail.com, some random number, and let's just make this doctor cardiology and 10 a.m. as simple. So it says your appointment has been booked. Now if you refresh the table, you'll see the data should get stored. It's not stored yet, let's see why. And you should see that it's somewhere over here. So the reason is you have to add this over here. The output buffer should start from here, so we are printing it, so it should be inside the output buffer. So that's the reason why it got at the top. And we forgot that it's the table 2 that we need to store. Now let me just insert it again. These are some random values. If you click on book appointment, and you get a success message properly inside the form and the data that got saved. Now after this, what we need to do, we need to display these values into the dashboard area. So let's create a menu first. So to create a menu, it's very simple. We have already seen multiple times. When we are attaching a function to a hook called admin menu, that is responsible for displaying your menus. So this is the this is going to be the page title. This is going to be the title on the particular page, or you can say h1, and this is the capability for the author, sorry, for the admin. Now this is going to be the slug. Once you click on it, the slug will change, saying that I'll show you how the slug looks like. Now this is the function that would get triggered when you click on the slug. Is nothing but the URL. When you click on this function, now this is the icon that I need, specifically dash icon calendar, and the priority I have made as 20. This, you can skip this priority. We are saying that the more the priority, the later your function will run. So that's enough for the explanation. So I have already covered deep, so it's not the scope of this video tutorial. Now if I refresh, you will see your appointment. If I click on it, you will see the slug changes to the SAP appointment. Simple appointment plugin is the short form of SAP. Now this is coming from the slug which you have triggered. Now here we need to show something. That something is nothing but the table class we would be modifying. So we would be using the class which WordPress provides, which is wp-list-page, and we'll be creating an object. Let me create the object first, and then I'll define the table. To define the class, you see, this is the class name we would be creating, and we would be overriding some of the function which we will get from the wp-list-page. The function are prepare item. We will define this prepare item on this particular class, and then we'll be using the display function to display the HTML. Now what we need to define this class. To define the class, we need to extend this class with the WP list page. So to use the WP list page, we need to call that class first, or you can say include that class in this plugin, and we are including if the class exists. If the class doesn't exist, then include the file. which is in the WP admin. Then we have includes. So this is the class that we need to override. So let's override the class. So what we need in this particular page, we need a header to display, first thing. The second thing, we need to display all the rows in this particular table to this class. So to display the table, we need the class called getColumn, which is defined on this particular page. So let's override that. So it basically converts your table name of the database to the custom name. Let's do that. So we'll be using this function which we get from this parent class, and on the left side we have the database table column name. On the right side, this is going to be modified to that. This is going to be modified, and that will be displayed on this particular page. So this is the customized column name. On the last, you'll see this action. We are manually adding it for the column name. Now what we need to display the rows. To display the individual rows, we need to fetch the values from this table. So to fetch the value from the table and display the column name and the value that we fetched, we need to override a function which we have already called here, which is nothing but prepare item. Let's call that function. Now after calling, we need to display the values. So to display the values, we have already seen how to. We'll be using WPDB, and we'll be fetching all the values, and that we will be storing it in the form in the appointments variable, and that appointment variable we need to pass it to the items and column header. So these two are coming from the super class, and we are manually overriding it with our custom values. So this items will hold all the rows on the table, and this will be the column name. So this isn't enough. Now we need to display the values. To display the values, again this class will give you a function to override, which is column default. And now in the column default, there is one thing that we need to focus. It need to display the value of the field on action. So in the table there is no field called action. So for that, we are specifically saying display all the rows. So this is row, and this is a column name. So if there is row, then display it. If there is no row, then make it blank. So blank is for the action. Now we need to customize the last column, which is action. To customize the last column, we can make use of the function which is again provided by your parent class. Don't worry of this now. Whatever I write here, if I want to modify the patient name, I'll be writing the patient name in place of X. If I want to modify email, I'll be writing email to modify. If I want to modify the column called doctor, I'll be using the column underscore doctor. Now I need to make modification on the action table, so I'll be using the actions. So what I need to generate a URL. Once I click on the button, what I need is I want the URL to change it to something where we need to pass two values. Let's just say I want the URL to be, here it would be ampersand sign. I want the URL to be action equal to edit, so that I can know that I'm going to edit for my internal reference, and I will be passing the individual columns ID. So for that, let's create a URL. So that URL will look like this. So this is the URL. This is the admin URL where you will get access until here. Now after that, we have to manually enter admin.php. The page is going to be the slug. We are passing the slug here, and action equal to edit for our internal reference, so that we know that which ID to get called. Now we will be getting the item as a parameter, and we'll be getting the item as an argument, and we'll be using it as a parameter to fetch the ID. And so that's it, I guess. If there is no error, you should see the data. Again, it's the second table. The action is not showing up. Let's see why. Okay, we have to we need to use anchor tag and display this in the href and return it. Now you'll see we have used the href as this URL, and we have a text. Now it will show up. So if I click on change status, you'll see what happened. Let me just remove the previously added URL. If I click on edit status, you'll see the action equal to edit is added and id equal to 2 is added. Let me just add one more value. Let's say Superman with superman@gmail.com has a phone, wants to visit a doctor who's orthopedics and at 5 p.m. If we make a book appointment, and data that would get stored over here, and these data will get fetched and displayed over here. And if suppose, let me just remove it again. If suppose I want to change the status of the Superman, I would click on the change status, and clicking on it, you'll see the action equal to edit and id equal to 2 shows up. Now with these values, I want to display a form. So before your page renders, now we need to display a form. So we'll be using a HTML. We'll display a form which will have simply we don't have this as of now. I'll just remove it, and once it's done, I'll show you. So this is a basic HTML form. You'll see the booked. Once you click on it, you'll see the status, and you'll click a update status. Now if I click on it, I'll have the access to the URL. I'll use the value which is fast and fetch the value over here and click on update. So let's do that. So we can have access to the URL with the help of get parameter. So with the help of get parameter, we can even without making complicated, we can even make this. With the help of get parameter, we'll have access to the action equal to edit. You can see if it is edit, and if the ID is set, then what we need to run an update query. So to run any query, what we do is we just call this super global variable, and before that we need to update the ID. So we don't need to update the ID, we need to get the ID. The ID is now in the string form. We need to convert it into a, we'll use it at the top. We need to convert it into what? We need to convert it into a integer value. So we are typecasting it, and now we are checking whether the guy has pressed the submit button or not. If the submit button is pressed, that we can check with the help of isset. So this submit button is actually this, and we need to run an update query, and this is the update query, just as we have done earlier. For the insert, we'll be passing the table name. You can see this table name. You can just make this table name, and we are just updating the status to what we have received, and also we are updating the ID. That's why we have converted it to integer value. Now let me just check. Now the problem here is we need to make, once I click on it, the status should be what is over here. So for that, we would be, if it is a PHP, we would be using if else query, but WordPress will give you a helper function. So that will help you to write a less number of code. So which is selected, either booked or checked is going to, either booked or cancelled would be there. If anything is there, based on that your value will get changed. So for that, WordPress gives you a function, helper function. So what we do in PHP is we would compare this text with the text which is over here, and based on the comparison we will manually use if else statement to add the selected is a word in the HTML to place it. So for that to save the time and the line of code, WordPress gives you a helper function. So it will check whether it is booked or cancelled. If book or cancel is selected, based on that the word selected will get appended. Same way over here, and cancelled. Now let me just, for demonstration purpose, let me just change the UI monk to be cancelled. Yeah, this one, CANCELLED. I hope I spelled it right. I could not see. Yep. Now cancelled is there. Make sure I spell it right. Yep. Now if I make a refresh, you will see. Let me remove these argument. by default it will not show up. So if I click on the cancelled, you will see the value to be cancelled, but it's not showing up. There is some problem here. The reason is we need to run a query, and that query should fetch which ID that you have clicked, either it's 2 or 1. So for that we will be using the we will be getting this value with the help of query. Select all from table where ID, we are passing the ID that we will be getting it from the get parameter, and based on that, let's see, it gives an error saying that table name is not defined. Yeah, this one should be table, and now it's cancelled. So if I click on book status and book is added, it's coming from, if I make a inspect and select the option tag, you'll see the selected is added. So this selected is coming from this particular helper function. So this is the main hero of this tutorial, and we have covered it very deeply. Now if I make the status of the Vishal to book and click on update, and that status should be that status should get changed. Now I don't want this in this page itself. I want only when I click on this button. So for that, just display the HTML only when the button is clicked. So refresh this, it's gone. It's not gone yet, and I need to write return also, so that you don't see the table below. So this prefer item will display the table. This prefer item will display the table. If you click on this URL will get changed, and the HTML will get displayed, and when there is a return, the line below will not show up. The code below line will not show up. So if you remove it, you'll see the HTML. Sorry, you'll see the table. I don't want that. I have made a specific separate link where it says go back, where I'll remove the action equal to edit and ID equal to something, and I'm sending them to the slug itself. So if I want to change the booking status of Superman to be cancelled, and just make this cancel update status, now you will see your table will not display any HTML. It's because of this return. And if you click on back to list, you will see the status got changed. I hope the scope of this tutorial is done. Thank you so much for listening. Meet you tomorrow with another hook in WordPress plugin.